Go ahead.
I'm fine.
Could you stand to your feet so the whole class can thank you?
Give her a mic.
1 second, let me hear. Put that, just clip it right here.
She's more famous.
How do you do this? Oh my god. Friday we were doing ladders in track practice, and I felt like I was gonna die. But Mr. Schreiber was like, "You could do it," and he motivated me, so I did, and I finished it.
That's good.
So positive influence helped to kind of get you to focus and keep going forward?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll see you.
Go ahead, put your ladder up. There we go. Appreciate it. You want some? Who else in here? Positive or negative experience to kind of...
Get the mic.
It's all lessons learned, whether positive or negative, to kind of help your classmates or even us. Anybody else? Go for it. Okay. Want to go for it, Miguel? Tell us your experience.
Hold it.
You want to
What's that?
And this is Miguel. He actually is running our Hobart satellite, just like at Clark.
Yeah, so we're launching this at Hobart too, so it's really cool what's going on with this program. But for me, positive experience and negative experience is really, as far as thinking goes, all throughout my high school years, I thought I never amounted to anything. I was a D average student. I wasn't a C or a B. It was D's that I'd get, some classes I would fail. And I was in drugs too as well, and I constantly thought to myself, I'm not going to amount to anything. I'm just going to end up on the streets. I'm going to end up, in jail. Something's going to happen. Or I'm going to work at the Mexican restaurant that I'm at for the rest of my life and never move out from there. Except that's where I work, And I had that attitude. I had that thinking. But then around my senior year, I started thinking positively and thinking differently. And I pulled my GPA up to a 2.5, which isn't too good. But I mean, it's a lot better than what it was at when it was at like a 0.7. It's a big difference. And so I pulled it up to a 2.5. I was able to graduate. Now, 22 years old, I have my own car, got my own place, got my own work, full-time job. And the reason why that took place is one, I personally believe it's because of my faith, but another thing is because I started thinking positively. I started thinking the way, even though I've been dealt these cards in my life, I don't have to necessarily stick to this. I can go above the grain. I can go beyond that, and I don't have to be stuck in the place I'm at right now. Just because my family's not successful doesn't mean I don't have to be successful. Just because my family's not, doing these things, or just because where I grew up at, it doesn't seem like people come out of there. I didn't have to hold on to that. I started thinking positively and saying, you know what? I have a goal, and I'm going to accomplish that goal. I'm going to make the proper steps to get there. I want to work one day. I want to work in a hospital. Okay, I'm going to fill out an application. I'm going to start going towards that. And I started working in a hospital. I worked at a psych ward. I've done things because of the fact of I started thinking positively and acting positively. I didn't just feel stuck to the negativity. And when you start to think the way positively, you start to think differently, it really will change your life, and it'll change your action and change what you do. I took a psychology class, and in my psychology class, they actually taught us, before actions come about, there's a feeling that comes onto you. You get this feeling, you start thinking this feeling away. As the feeling evolves, it then evolves into thoughts, and as the thoughts evolve, they then evolve to an action. And the thing is, if you can control your feelings and control your thoughts, you'll never actually commit that action that you don't want to commit, or that would be negative. So, thinking positively, my story is, just my life personally. In high school, I thought negatively. I thought this is the way things are. I'm never going to amount to anything. This is who I am. And then I started to change that and saying, no, I can make a difference. I can be someone else. My life is short, and I want, when my time comes, I want to be able to make a difference and not just be someone else that's out there. Yeah?
Anybody else want to go for it? Pretty shy class, or what? Are you guys talking outside of here? Okay. How do we get to kind of get the negative out and the positive into our lives like it needs to be? How do we get in our life? How do we get to start flourishing and growing like we need to?
Inspiration.
These are principles, but what's the application to make that happen?
Having positive thoughts.
Correct. Having positive thoughts and getting it on the inside, seeing yourself in that place. Anybody successful in life, you read up or study them or see how did they get successful. Yes, it was their hustle. Yes, it was their drive. But what happened? It started with a thought in their mind, in their heart. They man, I want to excel at this sport. I want to excel at this particular field, whether in business or some other industry or so forth. And they begin to believe that within themselves. I'm not checking status or anything. I got my lesson plan on here. One of the things we all have in common is thinking. We all think, we all believe, and once you realize that you can alter your thinking and belief, you can change the way you behave. So it's a matter of realizing we can alter the way we think and the way we believe. So you start changing that. So like you said, the cards that you've been dealt, reshuffle them. If you chose to lay and keep rolling with that hand and that hand sucks, you're not going to excel in life. Don't be like the victim, well, this is where I grew up at, the hood, or this projects, or this particular area, or my parents are like this. It's excuses. Excel for you. Reshuffle them cards. Get a whole nother hand. Play that hand out. Eventually within that hand, you're going to get a winner. You know what failure is? Failure is when you quit. Not because that you didn't accomplish what you want to. Brush yourself off. Continue to go forward. It's all of a mindset. If your mind's jacked up, you're not going to excel. You're going to stay in that same place, that same spot. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you're constantly feeding yourself a negative in your life, that's what you're going to produce. Constantly thinking that you're going to have F and D's and whatever grades, that's what you're going to produce. Take a test. They got a test on Friday, and on Thursday, like, man, I don't got this. I don't know that. You start saying that you're going to bomb the test. What's going to happen? You're going to bomb that test because that, like we said, to hit on words, but in your mind, in your belief system, you chose to go ahead and believe that thing. Guess what happened? You failed that test. It came to fruition. What you thought within yourself. That's what you gave off. That's what happened. You start, man, listen, our minds are like computers. Every time we look at something, when your teachers write things on the board or begin to talk about things you're studying, your brain retains it. Retains that knowledge. So everybody in this room can get straight A's if you wanted it. If you truly wanted that. By your studying, by the teaching, by all that stuff. How many of you guys can recall something that you've seen with your eyes, right? Almost play it back in your head. It's the same thing with school. It's just what happens is you don't value this. You might value the other thing you've seen. But now if you valued wanting to get A's, and that's what you excelled to do, just like you remembered vividly a situation that took place, same thing when it comes to excelling and the lessons that were laid out, the teacher taught you. Stuff you're given. You got the control of what you're going to do in your pathway in life. You've got that decision. You've got that choice. It's changing the way you think and you believe. I've excelled in life because why? As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. I didn't allow being put in special ed for behavior and all that to allow that to cripple me and say I can't amount to nothing. No, I got my mind right. Changed the way I saw things. Just like anybody that's successful will tell you what happens. They get their heart and mind right, and they can excel at it. Tap into your mind. Why do I say that? Because listen, you can process things. I can easily organically talk because Miguel's learning and seeing how we do things here, there's a lesson plan. Now, you do have liberty to kind of go with it. But I'm kind of staying on point what I'm talking about today. What time again?
It's 1:34.
All right. How many people want to live positive lives? Want to excel in life? Everybody in here? Okay. How many of y'all want to get them good grades and graduate and become great? Right? None of us want to fail in this room. Put your mind to it. Put your value to it. All of us value something in this room. We hold something higher to standard or something close to our heart. We value it. Those things we value, we're gonna hold close to us. Succeed for you, though. Make the difference for you. Not about your classmates, your family, this and that. Succeed for you. Make the difference in society for yourself. Excel for you, knowing that you can do it. Today I'm going to help you out. If you apply this, literally grabbing it from your mind and really seeing it, just like we talked about earlier, if you recap on something, or remember something you just seen, you can do that to the very things that you learn in school. I spoke at other venues and I've got paid good money. Why did I get paid good money to speak somewhere else? Can somebody tell me? Because what I taught works. That's why somebody's willing to pay for that. Because they've applied it. Knowledge is power when? Somebody tell me?
When it's used.
Put action to it. Apply it. Teachers can preach, talk all they want all day long, but until you apply what you've learned, it's just mere words. But when you put action behind it, you do whatever you want to do in life. Yeah, all them classes are good, but here when you're teaching on character, this is positioning you to really harness all the extra knowledge you're learning. Because if you ain't got character, you ain't got nothing. Nothing at all. Why? Because you can't harness greatness because your character is jacked up. Because your character is jacked up, it doesn't matter English, math, and you ain't gonna care about none of that other stuff. Because there's no value to it. But when you change your mindset, you change your thinking, that's when it becomes value. Because then you see something different. The mind is unique. What do I say that? How do your body still rolls forward even when you sleep? Your heart still beats, blood still flows, air in your lungs. It's unique. How is that operated? Through your subconscious mind. Example to that is once something's jotted in that subconscious mind, you can constantly recall it, or it can constantly come back if you wanted to. That's why you'd be like, man, why is this some person like they like smart or some geek or something? Because why? They're tapping into their subconscious mind and then everything they've learned, they're applying it. It's that simple. But a lot of times we make things difficult because of how we see things. And when you learn something, it ain't difficult no more. You learn something and it doesn't seem that hard. People think business is hard. When you learn a thing, it's not. When you learn something, you're no longer fearful to something. You're willing to step out and take risks. Here's an example to that. What I mean by when you train your body to recall or do a certain process. And I shared it in the other class. At some point, your parents potty trained you. At some point in your life. Why? So you don't pee your bed no more. Example of this, it went from your conscious mind to your subconscious. So now it's locked in there, so now out of a routine, your body's already accustomed to something. The same thing can happen for recalling knowledge, recalling instruction that you've been taught by your teachers, by what other instructors give you. It's that simple. Instead of saying you're going to bomb that test the next day and you've studied, say, hey, listen, tell yourself, I'm going to recall all that knowledge that's been taught to me, that the teacher gave me, I'm going to get it. Close your eyes. What happens is you'll start recalling that stuff, just like a movie slide, just like you looking at pictures. If you apply that, watch how you excel in school or anything that you want to excel at. What I'm going to do right now, we're going to do a brief exercise. I'm not going to do jumping jacks or sit-ups or anything. I want you to tap into that greatness on the inside of you. Everybody in this room, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine for a minute, there's this lever, and this lever, there's negative and positive. And right now, the negativity in your life, stuff that's been spoken of your life, words that have been spoken, been belittled, or all that negative garbage that have come in your life at some point. I want you to see that lever of negativity, and I want you to push it up to being positive. As you see it being positive, I want you to repeat after me, because this is going to help condition your mind for greatness. My subconscious mind. My subconscious mind.
My subconscious mind
Is a storehouse of memory.
is a storehouse of memory.
It retains everything I read
It retains everything I read
and hear
and hear
from my teachers.
from my teachers.
I have a perfect memory.
I have a perfect memory.
And the influx of intelligence
And the influx of intelligence
in my subconscious mind
in my subconscious mind
continually reveals everything
reveals everything
I need to know
I need to know
of all my examinations
of all my examinations
and tests,
and tests,
whether written
whether written
or oral.
or oral.
I radiate love
I radiate love
and goodwill
and goodwill
to all my teachers
to all my teachers
and fellow students.
and fellow students.
And I sincerely wish
And I sincerely wish
on them
on them
success
success
in good things
and good things
always.
always.
Now, by doing that, you've already conditioned your mind. So instead of bringing in negativity that you constantly have in your mind, you want to start declaring some positive stuff in your life, that you can excel, that you can have good grades. It just depends on what you want to do with that information. It's totally up to you. But I've applied that, and a lot of other people in this room and outside of that are successful have. It's that simple. That even comes with sports. Want to excel at it? See yourself excelling at it. Yes, practice, but see yourself already surpassing people as far as in that sport. Read stuff on different athletes, and you'll see and read why they're successful. See it happen. But you got to believe in yourself. You believe in yourself and value yourself, your thinking will change. You have control over your mind. Don't let somebody else control your mind. How does somebody else control your mind? By their opinions of you. Listen, don't listen. If they're not helping you succeed, evict them out of your mind. Say, I'm not selling it. Choose your friends differently. All the things we've given you thus far, about your words and so forth, this is how positioning you for greatness. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? We're here because we know you can succeed. We're here because we've already seen success. We want to bring you to that place. We take time out, why? To pour into your life. little bit more serious than probably Brandon. Brandon probably clowns all the time.
I do.
But you know what? I take things seriously. Why? Because I've buried too many kids. Preached too many funerals. So I'm giving you tools so you can succeed and not be another statistic and fall to the wayside. That's why I'm passionate. That's why I do what I do. That's why we have ROK satellites and other school districts. We continue to expand and be nationwide and national and international at some point. But you make the difference. If I can get that one person to decide to think differently, believe differently in themselves, knowing they can excel, it's all worth it to me. One less statistic that you read about in the newspaper. One less lost life. Positive thing of this is when I come here, and I know I speak to kids like you students here, that I know that some of you are grabbing this. I'd love for all you to grab it. That'd be great. But I know statistically some tune me out. I know the numbers. When you know the numbers, it's like, hey, you know some will grab it, some don't give a heck. Some are like, could the dude just shut up already? Listen, I already know the numbers. But I know that you guys will excel and become great. I already know it. But you gotta want it. You gotta want it for yourself. You gotta show me you want it for yourself. Put action to it. Put action to it to your grades. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to see yourself? Talk about writing goals down, writing things down, changing your attitude, change the way you view people, show the way you speak to people. Change the way you speak about yourself. If you're constantly negative, belittling yourself, change the way you speak about yourself. If ain't nobody else encouraging you, you encourage you. Look in the mirror. Everybody at some point during the day probably looks in one of them, right? Look in there. Start encouraging yourself. People might think you're crazy, talking in the mirror. You're talking to you. You're talking to the inside of you. It says, hey, you can make it. You can excel and become whatever you want to. Has this, what you've learned from ROK thus far, helped you? Or are the instructors wasting their time? It's a little bit more than just grabbing some books and teaching you up here. We're teaching with real life experience that we apply every single day when we're out there. You guys make the difference. ROK is successful because students decide to take what we've taught them and run with it. That's why. It's not successful because my name's on it or anybody else here. Because some of us are more charismatic than others, make some people laugh. No. We give principles that you apply that you can grow and adapt. So every other instructor we got here, everybody in this room is unique. The way you speak, the way you talk, the way you know what I mean? Different things about you. All of us. As long as you apply what we're giving you, we know you're excel, period. We're successful already. Why? Because we've applied the very same principles. I keep hitting on that, but I want you guys to get it in you. It's even in your books. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Grab a hold of that. As I think in my heart. So if I think in my heart something positive, that's how I'm going to live it out. If I always think negative, I'm going to be in the principal's office and expelled from school. Change the way you think. Everybody in this room is great. You got to see greatness in you. I see greatness in you. The other instructors in this room see greatness in you. You got to see greatness in you. the next time you see me, I want you to come down the hallway and say, man, I used to make some D's, but I applied changing my mind, and now I'm making A's. It'll happen if you apply what I just told you. But you gotta want it. You gotta want it. It's on the inside of you. Most don't succeed in life because they never tap into them, tap into themselves, and knowing that they can excel. What we learned today? What are you guys going to take away? Let me break it down. What are you guys taking away from the class today? Okay. What are you taking away? You go ahead and pass this around and tell me what you're taking away from class today. Hold it up here. You shut it off? Or I shut it off? You shut it off? You gonna turn it back on or is it off? Huh? All right, go ahead and speak up so he can hear you. Be more positive. What'd you say? Okay. Raise your hand and go ahead and shout out what you're taking away from this class.